All right, so I bet you've got your reading glasses on, ready to tackle Augustus and the Pax Romana.
One of history's most fascinating figures, for sure.
Absolutely. We've got excerpts from a history podcast and some seriously in-depth text here.
A lot to unpack.
Definitely not a surface-level skim today. We're going deep, extracting those leadership gems from Augustus's reign.
What made the Pax Romana work?
And how do those lessons apply now?
People often get tripped up by the whole emperor thing.
Like he was just a power-hungry dude.
Right. But Augustus wasn't just some military strongman.
More to him than meets the eye.
Way more. He was a strategist, a builder, a diplomat.
Understanding what makes people tick.
Totally. And here's the thing. Augustus inherited a Rome devastated by civil war.
The Republic was a mess.
Everyone was exhausted.
Done with the fighting.
He could easily gone full dictator.
Just taken over.
But instead, he presented himself as a restorer.
Someone to bring back stability?
Unity, too.
Smart move.
It was all about psychology. People were craving security.
Not another power grab.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a huge leadership lesson. Reading the room, understanding what your people need.
What they want.
Augustus offered a vision of a return to greatness.
And it hit home.
Deeply.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just talk.
He had to back it up.
He did. And he played the political game masterfully.
No.
Even with absolute power, he kept the Senate around.
Really? Why not just get rid of them?
It's fascinating. So he could have, but he understood the importance of continuity.
Of those old institutions.
Exactly. He was playing the long game by keeping the Senate even with less power.
He made it seem less like a revolution.
And more like a natural progression, less resistance that way.
Hey, I'm in charge, but we're all in this together kind of vibe.
Exactly. Except he was probably way more eloquent about it.
I can imagine. And this brings us to another interesting point. How he solidified his power without making enemies.
Augustus was brilliant at turning rivals into allies.
So instead of crushing the opposition,
He brought them in.
if you can't beat him, join him.
Precisely. He knew true power wasn't about squashing dissent.
But about building a wide base of support?
He was strategic, offered rewards, fancy titles, even a share of the power.
Join the winning team, basically.
And it worked. Think about all those huge infrastructure projects.
The beautification of Rome.
Those weren't just for show.
There is a deeper purpose.
They kept people happy, employed, invested in the system.
Shared prosperity. Everyone's got a stake in Rome's success.
That's a key takeaway for leaders today. Inclusive power structures are essential. Don't just grab power.
Sure.
Engage potential rivals. Make them stakeholders,
Create a win-win.
where everyone feels like they're part of something bigger.
Exactly. And it's not just about politics. It's about creating a system that works, that delivers for the people.
And that's where Augustus's reforms come in.
He didn't just play the game. He fixed things.
He did. He knew that lasting peace needed more than just political maneuvering.
Real solutions.
Practical improvements that address people's actual needs.
So he wanted to make Rome function better.
Absolutely. He understood that for real lasting peace,
You need more than just talk.
you need tangible improvements.
Like what specifically?
Massive infrastructure projects, for starters. Roads, aqueducts.
Those weren't just for convenience, though.
Not at all. They connected the empire, boosted trade, fostered interdependence between regions,
Building the foundations for unity.
and prosperity. But it didn't stop there.
What else?
He revamped the legal and administrative systems,
Got rid of the corruption.
tackled it head-on, standardized laws across the empire,
A level playing field.
and a sense of fairness that had been missing.
Sounds like he was trying to prevent unrest and rebellion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A well-run, fair system is crucial for peace. And then there's the military.
The muscle behind the Pax Romana.
Right. But remember, Augustus wasn't a warmonger. He saw the military as a tool for peace.
Not for constant warfare.
He invested in a well-regulated professional army.
Roman strength was undeniable.
But he also knew constant warfare was unsustainable, drained resources and manpower.
He was thinking long-term, not just quick victories.
That's a crucial leadership lesson. Sustainable reforms address both present and future needs.
Building something that lasts.
It's about asking yourself, what builds economic strength, promotes fairness? A&D makes the system resilient
resilient to what?
to future shocks.
Like a pandemic or something.
Exactly. You need to be prepared.
To build something that lasts.
Something like the Pax Romana.
But it gets even more interesting. Augustus wasn't just focused internally.
He knew strong borders often meant strong relationships with neighbors.
You're saying he wasn't all about Roman dominance?
Not at all.
Or
Augustus was a master diplomat. He knew constant war was draining.
resources, manpower.
He recognized peace is sometimes a better investment.
So he wasn't just throwing legions at every problem.
Nope, he was more nuanced. One of his key strategies was establishing buffer zones.
Buffer zones? Like what?
Client states around the empire.
Acting as a shield.
Exactly. Minimizing direct conflict with powerful rivals.
So like a safety net around the empire.
Precisely. This highlights another crucial lesson: the importance of strategic diplomacy.
It's about more than just military might.
It's about building alliances, fostering open communication, recognizing that strength can come from peace.
Sometimes the best way to win is to not fight at all.
Exactly. But there's another layer to Augustus's leadership we haven't even touched on yet: his understanding of culture.
Culture, like art and music.
That too.
Oh.
But I'm talking about shared identity. He knew a cohesive society is less likely to fracture.
Makes sense.
He understood the power of a shared purpose.
A common goal.
Think about the arts, literature, public works, all celebrating Rome's greatness
Connecting to a glorious past.
and a promising future.
Creating a national narrative.
A story everyone could buy into, a source of pride and unity.
So he was shaping the very fabric of Roman society.
He was. He even commissioned epic poetry, linking Rome's achievements to divine destiny.
Wow, so Rome was destined for greatness.
According to the narrative, he understood the power of storytelling, tapping into those human desires for belonging and purpose.
Powerful stuff. So he was more than just a politician.
He was a master storyteller.
A leader who knew how to connect with people's emotions.
Exactly. And that's something every leader should pay attention to: the power of narrative.
Creating a shared vision that unites and inspires.
This is starting to sound like more than just strategy.
It's a whole philosophy of leadership.
It is. And it's just as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. Leaders who can articulate a vision.
Inspire people to work towards a common goal.
Those are the leaders who achieve extraordinary things.
And leave a lasting legacy.
Like the Pax Romana.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's more to uncover.
Oh yeah, let's dive a little deeper.
Okay, so we've been talking about how Augustus rose to power, his strategic genius, all his reforms, his diplomacy, his focus on keeping Roman culture strong.
But here's what's really impressive. He didn't just stop there. He didn't just say, okay, good job, Pax Romana achieved.
So even with all the reforms and alliances, he knew peace could be pretty fragile.
Exactly. He understood that maintaining stability that takes constant attention, you got to adapt. You got to be ready for anything.
So not just putting out fires, but stopping them from starting in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He knew Rome had internal issues, potential enemies. And the future's always a wild card.
It's like having a good immune system. It might be healthy now, but gotta be ready for when that nasty bug hits.
Perfect analogy. And this connects to a lot of his policies. For instance, his military reforms weren't just about efficiency and loyalty.
There's a bigger picture.
It was also about making sure Rome could handle any threat that came their way.
Makes you wonder, did this guy have some kind of ancient Roman crystal ball? Did he have any specific examples of preparing for the unknown?
Well, take his approach to the Parthians, for example. Powerful empire on Rome's eastern border. Instead of endless wars, Augustus opted for a mix of diplomacy and military preparedness.
To a careful balance.
Exactly. He secured a peace treaty with them, even negotiated the return of Roman standards captured years earlier.
So he was choosing strategic alliances and well-calculated shows of force over constant conflict.
Exactly. Which brings us to another crucial part of his leadership: succession planning.
He knew he wouldn't rule forever.
Of course not. So he took steps to make sure the Pax Romana would outlast him.
He was already thinking about who would come next.
Absolutely. He wasn't clinging to power, trying to control every little thing until his last breath. He was preparing for the future.
Smart.
He adopted capable heirs, Tiberius being a prime example, trained them in the nuts and bolts of ruling, and in the values behind the Pax Romana.
So he wasn't just handing over a throne, he was handing over a philosophy, a legacy.
Exactly. And while there were definitely challenges after Augustus died, no system's perfect. His work to prepare those future leaders set the stage for decades of stability.
It's like he planted a seed and nurtured it, knowing that even when he was gone, it would keep growing.
Beautiful way to put it. And this focus on mentorship, on developing future leaders, that's a lesson that's still so relevant today.
Building something that lasts. Something bigger than yourself.
Recognizing that true leadership means empowering others, passing on what you know and what you believe in. So success doesn't depend on just one person.
Creating a system that thrives even when you're not there to steer it.
Precisely. And that's why we're still so fascinated by the Pax Romana.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a lucky break. It was the result of very deliberate choices, a vision that went beyond any single lifetime.
Okay, so we've covered Augustus's rise to power, his strategic thinking, the reforms, the diplomacy, the focus on a unified Roman culture, his long-term vision. Is there anything this guy wasn't good at?
Well, no leader's perfect. Even Augustus had his share of challenges and setbacks. But what's amazing is how he adapted. He understood that keeping peace and stability takes constant work, flexibility, a willingness to learn.
So he wasn't afraid to change direction when he needed to. He didn't let his ego get in the way.
Exactly. He knew leadership wasn't about stubbornly sticking to a plan. It was about constantly assessing the situation, being open to new information, making the best choices for Rome in the long run.
So he was flexible, pragmatic, willing to adjust his approach to fit the circumstances. He sounds like a leader for any time period.
He really does. And here's another interesting aspect of his leadership that we haven't really talked about yet. His grasp of symbolism and how it can shape people's perceptions.
Symbolism, you mean like statues and fancy buildings? I don't know if I see the leadership connection.
It goes deeper than just statues, though those were definitely part of it. Augustus was keenly aware of how symbols could influence how people saw things, how they could strengthen his role as Rome's stabilizer, the embodiment of its values.
So he was using imagery to get his message across, to build a story around his rule.
In a way, yes,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't just propaganda. He truly believed in Rome's greatness and its potential. He wanted others to see that too. He used symbols to inspire, to create a sense of awe, and to connect people to something bigger.
So it was as much about inspiration as it was about control. Kind of like ancient branding.
You could put it that way.
Yeah.
Think about the architecture, the coins they used, even the literature of that time. It was all carefully designed to celebrate Rome's achievements, to tie Augustus's rule to peace, prosperity, even divine favor.
He was weaving a whole story about Rome's destiny, and he used symbols to bring that story to life.
Exactly. And it's a story people wanted to believe in. It gave them a sense of belonging, pride in their shared heritage, hope for the future. It's a powerful reminder that leadership isn't just about policies and strategies. It's about tapping into that human need for meaning and connection.
So he was a master storyteller, a leader who understood that to really get people on board, you have to connect with them emotionally.
Exactly. And that's a lesson we often forget about.
Yeah.
We focus on the hard skills, the strategies, the policies, but we miss the power of inspiration, of creating a vision that truly resonates with people.
Augustus clearly understood that to be a truly great leader, you have to connect with people on a deeper level, give them something to believe in, something to work towards.
You did, and that's
Yeah.
a legacy that still inspires us today. It's amazing how much of Augustus's success comes down to understanding people.
We've talked about his strategy, his reforms, his diplomacy, even his use of imagery. You're saying it all boils down to people skills.
In a way, yeah. To make real lasting change, you need more than just winning battles.
We got to win hearts and minds.
Yeah, exactly. It's not enough to just hold power. People have to want to follow you.
So it wasn't just military strength or political savvy. It was about getting people
Understanding what drives them, what
Yeah.
they want,
Yeah.
what they're afraid of.
their hopes and dreams.
Exactly. He was so good at tapping into those basic human needs. The desire for stability, fairness, a sense of belonging.
Makes sense. People were tired of chaos.
They wanted order.
Mm.
And he offered them a vision they could believe in.
It's like that idea of narrative we talked
Yeah.
about. He was a great storyteller.
He was. He knew how to create a story that connected with people emotionally.
And it wasn't just a good story. He actually followed through.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
His actions matched his words. Reforms that improved lives, infrastructure that showed off Rome's power.
Putting his money where his mouth was.
Exactly. He was making Rome a better place. And people saw that.
They felt it.
And that brings us to another key part of his leadership. He created an environment where people felt like they could contribute.
Like they were part of something bigger.
Exactly. He didn't just rule from above. He fostered a sense of shared responsibility.
Like everyone had a stake in Rome's success.
That's a great way to put it. And that's at the heart of his legacy. The Pax Romana wasn't just about Augustus. It was about a system that could last,
Built to outlive him.
a system with strong foundations, shared values, a common purpose.
A legacy that still inspires us?
Absolutely. This idea that peace and prosperity don't come from force.
Or from just one person calling all the shots?
It's about understanding empathy, genuinely wanting to build a better world.
I think we've done it. We've mined some serious leadership gold from the Pax Romana.
Augustus wasn't just an emperor. He was a visionary, a master strategist, a builder of lasting peace.
He showed us that leadership is about more than just power.
It's about understanding people, inspiring them, empowering them to create a better future.
Lessons that are just as important today. So to our listener, as you go about your day, think about this. What parts of Augustus's approach really speak to you?
What kind of leader do you want to be? What kind of world do you want to help build? Keep those questions in mind.
History's full of incredible stories. Keep exploring, keep asking
Keep
questions.
learning. That's how we unlock the wisdom of the past and use it to face the challenges we have now.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So until our next deep dive, keep digging, keep questioning, and keep that curiosity alive.